I'm a bit rustly today. Hello and welcome to the Mad About You YouTube channel. My name is Madeline and thank you for joining me on my corner of the internet today. This is episode number 38 of my podcast, and it's been a while since the last video that I uploaded. So thank you for coming, and if you are new, thank you for watching. The new subscribers I've had recently, thank you for subscribing even though there's been no new content. And for those of you returning viewers, thank you so much for your patronage over here on my page. If you would like to find me online, you can look me up on Instagram as @mad.about.you, and I'm also on Ravelry if that platform works for you, and I'm Madbell over there. So this is the Mad About You 2021 series. It is sporadic. I have called myself a hot mess, and I think that would be an accurate statement. And the knitting is happening when it happens. I don't have any finished objects today, but I have made some really awesome work in progress, so I would like to share that with you today. I've just got my computer with the notes written on there from just before, which I really liked last time I had those notes prepared, so I will refer just over to this side just a little bit to be able to see what I'm working on, make sure that I show you everything. I don't know exactly when I last uploaded something, but I feel like it was in April. I did sit down to record last weekend because I did have something to share, but I knew that I was going to have the house to myself for the next couple of days, so today I'm sitting down this afternoon to talk to you lovely folk about the things that I have found some time to make. I did have something else that just popped into my mind to have a talk to you about, but I think that is gone, so we might just start with a little update. We'll talk about my works in progress. I've had a few stash acquisitions, and then we will go into reading, watching, listening, which will be a short one this time, I promise. And then Blather with some exciting things that I'm really excited to share, and hopefully we'll get to meet a few of you. So I'll take a quick sip of my beverage and we will talk works in progress. So some of this will kind of bleed into acquisitions as well, because I had to get some acquisitions to make some of these projects. So this first one I'm about to talk to you about is a stone crop cardigan by Andrea Mowry. I don't have a picture of it handy, but there's a link in the notes below to anything that I talk about that is linkable. There'll be a link down there, and you can check that out on my Ravelry page, or you could also Google stone crop, and if I think about it I will try and insert the picture somewhere in here. So I am holding the yarn in this Finch bucket. I think this was the mini one, and I made this bag for myself last year. Like I said, I don't have a photo, but it is a pullover, and I want to talk to you about it because I did a class with Alison. If I was looking at it, I would be able to say her surname, but I am not, so I can't remember. Alison is one of the owners of Knit One Chicago, and that is a local yarn shop in Chicago in America. And I saw her on Instagram. I followed Alison for a couple of years, and I think I followed the shop as well. And they were holding some knitting classes for a variety of different jumpers. And I've owned the stone crop cardigan pattern for, I think I bought it when it was released, and I've always wanted to knit it. I bought some spin cycle in order to make that project. So that's this one here, which is obviously caked up, and I do have another skein, but that's in the other room. They're dyed in the wool, so they're 5-ply or sport weight, but this yarn is like super thick in some places and quite thin in others, so it's just luck of the draw, I guess. And I had bought some other yarn from Knitcraft and Knittery, who unfortunately have just recently announced that they've stopped dyeing and they've closed their shop. So that is quite a loss for the knitting community, but I still have a few skeins of their yarn in my stash, so I will knit that, choose careful projects and enjoy knitting with that yarn. Anyway, I digressed. So I had chosen some Knitcraft and Knittery. I knit a swatch, which I have now since pulled out, and there was too much contrast. The swatch was like, the colour is like the green in this. I'm not sure if you can see. It's kind of like a tealy, fawny colour. Anyway, you couldn't really see the purple. It just blended in too much. So then I pulled another skein. I knit the words, Madeline, you're so out of practice. I knit a swatch in a pink from Nana Yarn. It was a merino single. And then ultimately I decided that I needed to have a dark colour. So I ended up having to do a frantic purchase after the first class. So it was 3 classes over 3 Sundays. It was done on a Saturday afternoon in the US, but it was a Sunday morning for us. So I had to be up at 6 a.m. on Zoom for my class. And the ladies were super lovely. Anyway, after the first class, I realized I needed to change my yarn. So I ended up getting this Bellissimo 4, which is 100% merino extra fine Australia and New Zealand machine washable wool. It's from Italy, in the colorway dark navy. So that's this here. And I bought that from Say Little Hen, which is a local yarn shop to me. It's all online. And I didn't realize that Sarah lives not even 10 minutes down the road from where I live. So that was really wonderful. Basically, I chose the yarn. I looked at Bendigo Woolen Mills, but I knew based on when the second class was, and I knew what I had to be up to. So I had to reknit a new swatch, wet it, block it, and then have done ribbing in my new color. So I basically just went online and went, what shop can I buy the right quantity of yarn that has in stock and can get it to me as soon as possible. So I looked at Bendigo Woolen Mill, which would have been okay, but their postage coming from Victoria, I didn't know how long that would be. I wasn't sure if I wanted indie dyed yarn because I'd already put the spin cycle into it, and that was fairly expensive. And then I happened upon Say Little Hen, and I have ordered, I was a subscriber to their Yarnology magazine when it first came out, I think. And I have bought a few other things like stitch markers or whatever from Sarah. And then I realized that they do local pickup for if you live near where I live. So I bought 9 skeins, I think, of that Bellissimo yarn, and it's worked perfectly. It's really beautiful to knit with. I have one criticism, and that it can be a little bit splitty if you are knitting with it, but it has been excellent. And so I have some progress to show you. I'm about to do an increased row, so it's not super easy because I haven't changed to a bigger set of needles. But this is what I have so far of my yoke here. So I'll just like pull this part out. And I really loved doing the class with Alison because if you can see here, there's a ribbing. So this is the back. There's a ribbing. We did some short rows, which is fine. I've done short rows before. But then if you can see these bobbles, and I'm sorry, I can't see the screen on my camera, so I don't know how this looks for you. And then you can see the color work. And so I'm working on the second part of the color work chart, and I'm about to do an increase round before I go, I think, straight into more bobbles. I can't remember from the pattern. Anyway, it was so lovely to do the class. So the first class we talked about the swatch, we knit the swatch. We did the math about how to choose a size for your jumper, which I never really understood. And the only jumpers that I've made for myself, well, one really is quite ill-fitting. And I washed and blocked the swatch, but I kind of just chose the best size based on the swatch information, which is what you're supposed to do. But I also learned some of the maths that you can do to customize your fit. So, yeah, I am looking at this wondering what I did last and why. No. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this. It's a really slow knit. Like, I think I've got 300 stitches on the needles. After the next increase, I'll probably have about 400, or maybe I get to 3 something and then there's one more increase round and then rapid increases and it'll be 400 and something, which I think that sounds about right. So yeah, lots of stitches. It's my first ever 4-ply or fingering weight jumper. But I'm loving it so far. The Bellissimo is so lovely. The spin cycle is like coming through quite well, I think, in that color work, and I'm knitting 2-stranded. So I've been having the dominant color in my right hand and I knit my normal throwing English style with that hand, or I've been doing continental with a contrast colour. So that will depend for me, and I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but I've been switching that up based on what colour I need to be more dominant in the moment. So yeah, that's a really big talk about that, because basically that's the only thing I've actually properly knit on. And I might leave that out because when we talk about Blather, I'm just doing a row of stockinette before I start my knitting creases. So we've talked about that yarn. What do we have next? We have my semester 1 socks, which I don't think they were this far done last time I showed them, but they could be. I haven't knit on them in a while because they need a heel. So all I really need to do is sit down and put 2 heels in these socks. They're 2 at a time. I was thinking of doing a fish lips kiss heel because I'm fairly sure I can do that 2 at a time. And I've knit basically to the length of my fish lips kiss heel cutout. This yarn was Life in the Long Grass, which was a club colorway that I think I got in a fibre share swap or a D-stash. It was a D-stash. And the colorway is called Summer Fate, and I really love it. It's very bright, and I would like to have these finished in the next couple of weeks, but that's not going to happen, in the next little while, so that I can actually wear them this winter. Something interesting for me at least that I have noticed is I've always knit my socks on a 2.5mm needle, and I've cast on about 64 stitches. Now, I haven't gotten any smaller really, and I doubt my foot and my ankle have, but I feel like my socks are a bit loose, so I'm going to have to either... I don't swatch for socks, and I don't swatch for shawls, and I refuse to swatch for a sock, which is stupid because a trial and error will not be fun when I'm ripping it out. But the next pair I make, I think I will try a 2.25mm needle for 64 stitches, or I will drop down to 60 on the 2.5, because I do quite like the 2.5. But yeah, and they're 2 at a time because basically they're at the same spot and they match. So that's that. Vertices Unite, I did pull it out, but I haven't knit anything on it. I did take it to the football last night, but I was too engrossed and our seats weren't fantastic, so it was a little bit hard to actually, I wouldn't have been able to knit and concentrate, and if I had had the heels in and I was just doing stockinette, I would have been able to just knit and watch, but I didn't, and that's totally fine. I'm not upset at myself. I just had a really lovely time with my dad and my sister. Okay, so let's move on to stash enhancement. I did kind of say, I think a couple episodes ago, how I felt a little bit icky about this segment, but also I haven't really been spending my money on anything else. So while I feel a bit icky about talking about all the lovely things that I've bought with whatever, I'm not exactly earning a lot of money at the moment while I study full time. I do have money set aside for crafting, so that's what I have been using, and I want to share with you what I have got. So I'm not going to be super boasty about it, but this is just some of the stuff that I bought and some of the stuff that I've got going. So first things first was, I don't know if I just showed this, perhaps I did not. This is a sock sack from Masked Circus. She is in Victoria, I believe. Actually, I'm just assuming that person's gender. The maker of the Masked Circus, they have they're a circus performer and out of work because of COVID, so they've been making these project bags. And this one is, I thought, I loved it because it's a bit of Australiana, and I thought would be really cool for my non-Australian viewers to have a look at. So we've got a platypus here, there's an echidna, an echidna, which is similar to a hedgehog, a wombat, and there is a koala and a kangaroo up there. So actually it's probably easier if I just undo this and you can have a little bit of a look. And then there's some like representative native flags, flora, like plants and flowers. Oh my goodness, Madeline. Now this is super well made. The bag has a zipper pocket in there for like notions and stuff, and then also a D-ring on the inside, which is great because when I'm working on socks, I like to have a lot of those stitch markers on there, and this is actually removable, which is handy, so you don't have to open up all your light bulb stitch markers, or you can just use those round ones. So it was fairly inexpensive. She has an Etsy shop. They have an Etsy shop, which I bought it from, and I really like it. It's a good size because I was taking this bag to uni with one pair of socks and it's kind of just too big. So this is perfect. One pair of socks, 100 grams of yarn, 2 at a time knitting, easy done. So that was acquisition number 1. We talked about Say Little Hen, which was my 9 balls of Bellissimo, which is lovely. Actually, maybe I bought more than 9. I don't remember. Whatever it was, I bought enough plus 1 so that I had extra for the swatch and whatnot. And then I did some yarn dyeing ages ago. This arrived probably 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago. So I did an order from Hannah of Rosehip Island. She has a yarn shop in Tasmania, and I love Tasmania. I visited it several times, some for work and then some for pleasure. Beautiful, beautiful part of Australia, and some really rich history as well. Some of it not so good, but yeah, that's just part of Australia's story, isn't it? So this is Delicious Sock. It's an 85% Australian superwash merino, 15% nylon. And I think this was a Bridgerton colorway. It's the Hyacinth sock set. So it's 100 grams plus 20 grams. I haven't unwound it because I don't trust myself to be able to get it back nicely. But I think the mini is in there, wrapped up in there somewhere. Maybe this blue, green. And that came with a little butterfly stitch marker, and then I could not resist this little bundle of minis. So 5 minis. They are Delicious Sock, so same base as that, and these colors here. So I think actually what drew me to it was these two. It's like this magenta-y color, which kind of like matches my lipstick today. This chartreusey sort of browny, mustardy orange, yellow, and then I quite like this color here. So they all play really well together. And I have a shawl called the Solara shawl by Melanie Berg, and I haven't knit it. I've had the pattern for a really long time. And I've got some skeins of yarn from Pirate Pearl that I think would look really nice with this, so I may end up making that with this kit. And at the same time, I am kind of stockpiling minis. So yeah, I don't know why I'm stockpiling minis, but I've wound up buying a few this year. So when I move into my house and I have all my yarn stuff set up nice and proper, I guess I will have my jar of minis out again and I can start kind of putting things away. But I thought this came really lovely, just all nice and in together. I'm probably covering my face a lot because like I said, I can't see what is going on. And then 2 things. So Daffodil Road is another yarn company. I want to say they're in Tasmania as well. I could be wrong. Let's have a quick squiz. Yeah, Tasmanian. So it's all about Tasmania this year for me, apparently. That looks like Tasmania, just based on the town names and Mona. Yeah, okay, so they are in Franklin, which if I look at the map, it's kind of south of Hobart, or southwest of Hobart perhaps? Southwest. Anyway, they make beautiful yarns. None of it that I bought has turned up yet, but I did sign up for their 2021 advent calendar. The theme of the calendar is Narnia, and I'm not like massively a Narnia person for into C.S. Lewis and Narnia. I've read all of the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe books, like in that series when I was quite a bit younger. And I enjoyed them at the time, but it's not one of the classics, I guess, that I go back to time and time again. Not that that really matters, but they had a pastel sort of colored mood board that I saw on one of their descriptive pictures, and I just went, those are my colors, and that would be really nice to make a throw or a blanket or something out of that. So I think that will be fun. And I'm not, at this stage, I'm not buying 2 advent calendars like I did last year. I still haven't used that second one at all, and it's still up on Ravelry in my D-stash if someone is interested. It is a sock nylon, it's like a wool nylon blend for that sock yarn, because someone did reach out from who watched the last episode, but they're looking for non-superwash wool. So that's happy like that there was some interest, but unfortunately it wasn't exactly what she was after. They have just had a birthday, I think, or they got a new website. So they actually had a sale last weekend, Daffodil Road Yarns, and I saw a 4 skein set, which I can't remember what it's called, but it hasn't arrived yet. It should probably arrive on Monday or Tuesday, and it was absolutely stunning. So I bought it, and they were having a sale, and silly me, I saw the sale on my Instagram, and I checked the post before and after for the code to put in, because when I put the stuff in my cart, the code didn't automatically come through, and I didn't know what it was. So anyway, I was like, well, there's only one set of this left and I really love it, so I'm going to buy it. So anyway, I'm not usually a forward person, but this time I bought it, and then I just sent an email to them and said, hey, look, I've just bought yarn. I saw your sale, and I didn't see the code on Instagram. And I'd subscribed to the newsletter, but for some reason I hadn't got it. So I said, I'm really sorry. Is there any way that you could refund me the difference? Like, I bought it 20 minutes after the sale started, and they were so gracious. Like, I didn't think they would say yes, because, it's my fault. I didn't, see the code and use it. But they were so lovely about it. And they said, yeah, that's completely fine. Or would you like another skein of yarn instead? Like, that way we don't have to refund you anything. And I was like, oh, okay. So I asked that in the morning, I think at like 9:20, and I didn't check my emails until maybe like 9 p.m. It's like, oh, I don't want to reply just now. So I replied the next morning, and we got it all sorted. I chose a different color. And so, yeah, that's on its way. I guess the thing where I live, it's quite a fair distance away from Tasmania, so things do take time, but I'm not in a hurry to knit anything. So that was totally fine. And the ladies were so lovely in helping me out, because really, like, that was me who made the mistake, and they're a small business, but I just thought I'd ask, and well, I got a great answer. So that is all for Stash Enhancement and Works in Progress. So I guess we go on to the non-crafty things. If that's all you're after in terms of crafty content, thanks so much for watching. But if you're happy to stay around and listen to what I've been reading, watching and listening, and then a little bit of blather, then that would be really cool. And I'd love to spend that time with you as well. So reading. Most of you who've watched for the last couple of episodes at least know that I left my full-time job earlier this year to go back to university to study to be a teacher. My subject areas will be history and English, and part of my English course this semester I had to read a young adult novel, because I'm learning to teach year 7s to 10. I had to choose a young adult novel, work with a curriculum to write some lesson plans and put stuff together, whatnot. So I did that, and the book I read was called When Michael Met Mina. And I don't know, maybe I talked about it last episode. Now that I say that, I need to check the notes. What did I talk about? No, I talked about a different book. Good. Yeah, so When Michael Met Mina, it's a young adult novel. 2 kids, opposite sides of the track, I guess. Mina is a Afghani refugee who's come to Australia maybe like 10 years before the novel's set, or probably not quite so far. She came via a refugee camp and detention centre, and then she settled in Western Sydney, and she gets a scholarship to a really prestigious school in the northern suburbs of Sydney. So if you're familiar with Sydney, you'll understand the geographical difference between, say, Auburn and the lower North Shore. Anyway, her family packs up and moves to the lower North Shore, which is predominantly, let's say, it's less multicultural, and especially compared to Western Sydney. This was supposed to be a short segment, but I really enjoyed this text. The author is Randa Abdel-Fattah, who is a Egyptian Palestinian Australian. I think I've got that right. And she is an academic and author. She's written maybe 5 or 6 young adult novels. And yes, she's an academic, and she studies predominantly Islamophobia in Australia. Mina is a Afghani Muslim refugee Australian. And Michael is a young lad whose parents actually started a political party called Aussie Values, which, if you're an Australian, quite similar to, say, One Nation. And the book basically just goes to tell their 2 stories, and it's about young people kind of figuring out their own political identity, maybe separate to their parents, and how really nice people can kind of have some really inherently racist or unkind beliefs about other people based on misinformation or whatnot. But it's a really thought-provoking story. And so I pitched my study for grade 10s because at 15, these are some kind of big issues. And then where I live, we don't have a very multicultural population, let's say. So I thought if I was pitching it to a school near where I grew up, it would give people a view into, say, life in the city, life in Sydney, and just how things are super different. So that was really good. I really enjoyed that. And I did not mean to talk about this for so long. Watching, there's a YouTube channel called Sheepishly Me by Sandy Brock, and she is a sheep farmer in Canada. And when I was supposed to be studying a couple of weeks ago when uni was just so full on, I would like stop and watch on like speed 2 her 10-minute or 20-minute daily vlogs about like what's happening and lambing and whatever. And so she's really funny, and I quite enjoy watching that. And she is Sheepishly Me on YouTube, and she's sheepishly.me on Instagram, and I've got a link to her YouTube channel in the notes already. And then listening, Glennon Doyle, who I talked about last year when I mentioned her book Untamed, has just released a podcast, and I know it's like, oh my gosh, everybody is releasing a podcast these days, but this one is really quite special. It's called We Can Do Hard Things, and there's I think 3 episodes are out now, maybe 2. I've listened to the first one, and then I was talking to my mum about the second one today, so I'll probably do that this afternoon while I do my very minimal editing on this video. Okay, that brings us up to Blather. So, I say so a lot, I have realised. I have spent the last week on my first ever placement in a high school. I am at a state high school, so a government school that is not super close to me. I drive about 50 minutes each way. They are in an area where there's 5 schools, 2 independent, 1 Catholic, and then 2 state high schools, and they are a low socioeconomic area, this particular catchment, and it's been a really eye-opening experience for me. It's been heartbreaking and encouraging at the same time. Like, I see the teachers and how hard they work to make sure that their students have the chance of an excellent education, and then I see the students who come to school who have really, really, really tough home lives. And then the conversations about kids in a staff room in a way of just like pastoral care kind of thing, or I've had this person last year, they're having this issue, do you have them this, you know, whatever, that collegiate discussion. So that's been really good. I got to run a spelling test for grade 8s in English, and it was a bit of a nightmare. So this teacher that I was with is not my supervising teacher, but I had a spare in my program, and I said, oh, can I come and sit in on your year 8s? He was like, okay, but you'll be doing stuff. And I said, yeah, that's fine, no worries. So I go to his class, and I get lost on the way there. Like, I knew what block it was, but I was like going up and down all the stairs, and it was right on the bottom, directly opposite the staff room where I have been working out of. And so that was annoying. So I walked in late, not like later than the kids, but later than I was supposed to be there. So that was kind of embarrassing. It's like, I'm so sorry, I got really lost. And he's like, gives me this book, and we do the reading gym. So the kids, they got to read for 10 minutes and then draw a picture about what they had read. And then we did the spelling test, and basically I had to give them 20 words, and I had to put them all in a sentence. And some of those words I really struggled to come up with anything to say in a sentence. It was like too much pressure, but that was good and really interesting. And next week I'm teaching 5 subjects. So I've got Year 7 Humanities, and we're learning about Ramses II, who was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh who had he had 2 main wives and at least 100, but probably 200 children between his other wives and his concubines. So really interesting, but he had quite a prosperous time, his reign. So he's pretty cool to learn about. I'm introducing a unit on genocide and the Holocaust in Year 11 Modern History, so that's really depressing, but I think that's kind of part of why we study history, is not because it's depressing, but you can lose faith in humanity, but at the same time be encouraged by humanity, and we learn about these things to critically and rationally think so that we can try and make sure these things don't happen again. And then I've got a Year 10 history class as well. So mostly history, which is cool. That's my primary teaching area that I'm mostly interested in. But yeah, other than that, it's been a great experience, and I've got one more week to go, so that's good. 2 other things that are yarning related. First of all, I'm going to Adelaide in June. On Sunday the 13th of June, there is the Fibre Feast in Adelaide. It's at a local school hall. And I'm on uni holidays. I think I've got 2 weeks off before my winter session starts, between this prac and all of my assessment is done, and the winter session. And I said to my friend Robin, who lives in Canberra, I need to leave Queensland. I need to do something, go on a holiday. And I had planned before I turned 30, which is early next year, that I would do 30 things before I turned 30. And then life happened, and it was get married, have kids, and in there I get married, get divorced, no kids. So I've had to rejuggle some of the things, and because of COVID I haven't been able to get to some of the other things that are on there, and I've achieved a lot of them. So it's more about putting less pressure on myself about what I didn't do, and what else can I do, or what do I want to do. And I've been to every state and territory in Australia except for South Australia. So I saw it. I'm giving myself a 4-day weekend. My friend Robin is flying in on the Friday, but I will fly in on the Thursday afternoon. I managed to get a direct flight from the local airport, which is still 30 minutes from where I live, but that's cool. It's easier than Brisbane, which is 2 hours away. And yeah, I'm really excited. So if you are in Adelaide and you watch, and I haven't already spoken to you, or even if I have, leave me a comment below, because I'd love to catch up at some point. My friend Robin is a knitter as well, obviously that's why she's coming with me. So we're super keen. We're probably going to go do a wine tour or something on the Saturday, and then on the Thursday night I'm not going to have anybody that I know, and I'm cool with doing things by myself, so that's fine. But yeah, if you are around and you want to catch up and meet up in person, that'd be really, really lovely. So that's cool. And then finally, I was thinking, I miss my local knit nights. So I didn't really have them in Canberra, but Robin and I used to go knit on a Sunday afternoon. We go to the art gallery or something, walk around, and then go sit and have a coffee and a cake or whatever and knit. And then when I was in Sydney, I went to Skein Sisters, and on my last job, when I was working away a lot, there was a couple of knitters in the group of people that I worked with, so we used to have tea time every night. Well, after work we would gather in, have tea and whatever, and then we'd all, toddle off to bed for our rest period. But that was really fun, and I'm kind of missing that sense of community. So I haven't found a knitting group here on the Sunshine Coast. I believe there probably is one, but if I can't find one, I'm going to start one. So there are a couple of people I follow on Instagram who live near me. So I'm thinking I might reach out to them and say, hey, do you want to, it doesn't have to be a knit night. It could be a Saturday afternoon or a, Thursday night. I also don't know what my uni looks like for the rest of the year really yet, but next week that'll come out. So yeah, I think I'm missing that camaraderie, and then come a little bit later in the year when I live in my own house, I can start one and have one at my place. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. I did have someone reach out to me and say, oh, Helen Stewart lives near you. Have you reached out to her? And I haven't. First of all, Helen Stewart doesn't know who I am. I know she knows that I've knit some of her stuff, but lots of people have. So I haven't felt to, and I've been so busy. This is really sporadic, and whatnot. But I think at some point that would be probably really good to reach out and be oh, hi. Do you want to sit and knit? Get a group of us maybe, and we can meet kind of halfway in the coast or something. So anyway, that's kind of mulling in the back of my mind, that I'd like to start up that community again. Now, because I can't see the screen here, I'm really hoping that all of this is actually recorded. But yeah, that is all I really have to say for now. Thank you so much for coming back, and to Ali at Fiberbound for the shout out, because I got some new subscribers from that. I've been watching Hannah from Rosehip Island and Crystal from Books, Hooks and Yarns. My international favourites are still Amy Florence from the Stranded podcast. I still watch Knitting Expat, but not kind of everything she puts out. I've been kind of dabbling back in Christy Glass Knits for some of the episodes, and then really love Stacey Elstone from Stress Knits yarn. So that's kind of who I've been watching yarny-wise, but to be honest, I've barely watched any TV. I watch MasterChef while I eat my dinner, and then I go back and do more study. Like, this study has, and my work and my job has really overtaken my life. So I'm surprised that in 2 or 3 weeks I've managed to get this much knitting done, really, to be honest. But yeah, that's just where we're at. This is a season. And yeah. Well, like I said, thank you so much for watching and joining me on my YouTube channel here. It's been lovely to sit and have some time with you and talk about the things that I've been doing. Like I said at the beginning, if you want to find me online in other places, I'm Madbell on Ravelry, and I'm Mad About You on Instagram. And yeah, I'll see you probably sometime in June after Fibre Fest, I reckon. Fingers crossed. Bye.